Today, let's have a look at all the different variations of the frog to handstand or the crow to handstand. Now, the frog or crow to handstand is very similar. Some people will call this a froggy position, so when our knees are more on the outside of the elbows, and this position more like a crow when the knees are more on top of the elbows. But both variations can be taken up to handstand. And that's what we're going to go through today. I'm going to show you lots of different progressions that will hopefully fit your current level or show you what you need to work on so you can start to play with this cool skill. First of all, do a little bit of a self-assessment on your crow, your frog position. If you are working a skill like this, I'm assuming you already have a crow or frog position. So take a video from the side and see what it looks like. It might look like this, it might look like this, or it might look something like that. Most people actually don't know what variation they're doing, so it's definitely worth self-assessing. Video yourself, look at yourself in third person and see what you actually look like. We also need to know what type of handstand we're dealing with. So is it a freestanding one that's nice and controlled and we can move it around into lots of different positions and stay there with balance? Or is it a handstand that needs to use the wall for balance, but you have lots of movement that you can do? Or is it a very fragile position that is very unconditioned and we definitely need to work on? Then we need to look at the weight distribution and the strength distribution in the body when we do the frog or crow position. Now what I mean by that is we're going to have a certain amount of energy control in the arms. So notice, look, I've got all the control in my arms and shoulders now, and my hips and legs are just sitting on top, where the opposite would be all the weight on the legs, basically buckling the arms, and obviously you'd have lots of degrees in between. Now I'm guessing you're somewhere in the middle. We can then play around with that concept. So I can just go into my position, whatever it looks like, and I can try and push into the arms and shoulders, more weight there, so making the legs lighter, or I can do the opposite and sink the legs into the arms, and play with just changing that percentage and get a feel for that. Now a good drill to try and get more weight into the hands and shoulders is to not put the knees onto the elbows yet. Bend the arms, have lots of weight in the hands here, and then I'm just going to try stepping on and back off. So one leg at a time to start with, and then I can go 1, 2, and back off. And that's going to try and encourage more load into the arms and shoulders. You can change the percentage or the amount your elbow is bent. And if you're lacking in strength conditioning in the arms and shoulders, that's obviously going to be a little bit harder, but that's highlighting the area that you need to work on. So working on your push-ups, working on your dips is going to carry over really nicely to building that base, that strength that you need to eventually go up to handstand. We can then look at transferring weight forwards and backwards, up and down. So the seesaw effect. So I'm in this position, I've got lots of weight in the feet and I'm tipped backwards. So notice the hip is down and my head and shoulders are up. Then I'm going to take the head and shoulders down and the hip up until my toes come off. See if I can go all the way down to my head touches, and then see if I can pull back again with control on the other side. So we're tipping the position down and back. As the head and shoulder comes down, the hips come up, and vice versa. Now if you're stronger and more conditioned with that one, we can do exactly the same thing, but single leg. I can even go all the way down to taking the head to the floor. I can even come up to headstand and back, and obviously you could do that on both sides. And that takes us nicely to the single leg frog or crow position. So with this one, I'm going to try and get lots of weight into the arms, step onto the position, and then I'm going to see if I can step the leg up in the air. Now notice when I do this, I'm taking the foot and the leg up like this. I'm not taking it backwards. Now backwards isn't wrong, but it's much harder to counterbalance the weight. So normally what will happen there is if I go backwards, notice how all my body falls backwards to the direction the leg is going. To go backwards, I actually have to take the leg back and the head and shoulders forwards at the same time to counterbalance. So I'm taking something this way to counterbalance what's going that way. And you'll need to work with that slowly. But the easiest way is just to go up a little bit first, not extend the leg too fast, so you can read the balance as you go. Then we can start to combine all that together using the wall or even a bench. So I'm in that position like we was just a second ago, take a leg up, see if I can touch the wall and come back. So I'm not trying to put any weight into the wall yet because I want to try and keep all my weight, all my control in the shoulders and the arms. I don't want to start sinking weight into the wall. So it's just to start with using it as a target. Like I say, you could go to a bench and do the same thing. And then I can progress that to going more into a higher position, putting some weight into the wall, walking all the way up, walking back down, trying to find that position again and back again. And just do that for reps. Now, it is going to take you a while to be able to do that because everything needs to be in the right place. We need the energy to stay mainly in the shoulders and the arms. We need to keep the hips in the right place relevant to the base, not over towards the wall, because that's going to drag you up and feel really heavy. And we need to do all that dynamically as we're moving up into that more chest to wall handstand position. Now, if you're a bit stronger in the position and you can take the foot up and over, you can actually start to work back to wall. So I can do it this way around. I can take one leg up, try and find the wall, but notice to do that, I've had to take my left knee off my elbow. So I'm reaching up with my right leg, but I can't find the wall, so I have to push out of that. Now that's easier from a balance point of view. I'm just falling towards the wall, but it is much harder from a strength point of view because I basically have to push all of my body weight up and over. I am using a little bit of momentum, falling into the position, but it's a pretty big strength move. Now, one thing to think about is that the eccentric, the down phase, is always easier than the up. So you could go up to the wall first and then try and step down into it. But that is going to take a little bit of strength control and balance and confidence in the position. It's probably easier to start chest to wall, but both are going to feel quite heavy unless you've got a very strong push. Now there's two other ways we can start to go up to the wall. One is using way more strength, one is using more momentum. So for the momentum one, I'm going to fire my hips and my legs up in the air by dropping the head and shoulders quite fast. So I might start in this position, make sure I'm a good distance where I'm not going to smash my head against the wall. Head and shoulders come down, hips come up, and look, I nearly jump into the position. And obviously I can slow that down as well, but both legs are coming up at once, and I'm going all the way to the wall like that. So I'm really using that seesaw, head and shoulders down, hips and legs up. Now that can also be done chest to wall. We just got to make sure that we don't smash our toes into the wall, but head and shoulders down, feet up. Whoops, I was worried about hitting the wall. Let me do that again here. So like that. I actually don't like that one so much because it's actually firing you back towards underbalance, and I prefer to fire up towards overbalance because it helps you out. Crow to handstand, handstand push-ups are much easier if we use that overbalance to help us out. Underbalance is going to make us feel much heavier. And then the other version is going to be a very strict, slow press up to handstand. Now you need to be very strong for this one. We can use the wall for balance if we need to. So here, both knees come off and I push up, use the wall as needed, come back down the same way. Exactly the same chest wall, head and shoulders come down, feet and hips come up, and then I go up the wall that way. Same on the way down. And you could obviously do single leg or double leg. Now we could focus on the eccentric, the down phase, to get that time under tension, to learn the pathway and slowly build strength and conditioning through the full range. Now if I'm going to do that freestanding, I would kick up to handstand first, come down to a froggy tuck position, then roll down through the spine while bending the elbows, find the arms, and then there's my eccentric. And then I could use momentum or one of the other options to get back up, or just pause, kick up, find balance and do another eccentric. I could do the same thing up against the wall, just making sure I've got enough clearance for my head and shoulders, and then I come down slowly through that eccentric. Now the hardest thing there is getting the distance right away from the wall, because you could see as I come down, my head and shoulders went forwards and actually touched the wall, which knocked me out the back. But that's going to be a little bit easier from a balance point of view, and I can do a really slow eccentric against the wall. Just be careful of the shoulders and the wrists when you do this. So fingers around to the outside, push into the wall there, and then roll down bit by bit through the spine until you find the arms. There's my frog, and come back out. Again, you're going to fight with a correct distance away from the wall. So ideally, you'll be doing the slight freestanding version, and you really need to make sure that you've got a very strong crow frog position that you're coming down onto. So hopefully that's given you a really good insight into how to train for the crow or frog to handstand. You will notice that's a movement that I cover a lot on this channel. And if you've done any coaching with me or you've got my app, you'll know that I use it a lot to train both press handstand and handstand push-up variations. If you are after help with your training, check out my website, www.paultwyman.com.au, and I have full online coaching, or I have my app. All links are down in the description, and I'll speak to you in the next one.